My best friend of 23 years announced in July she was engaged and asked me to be her maid of honor. I honestly didn't think our friendship was that close after being out of high school for 18 years, but I said yes. Planning started fine but slowly devolved into chaos. Sarah is extremely particular, wanting everything for her wedding at her exact specifications, while also not having a dime. Straight up cheap. She insisted she host the reception in her LDS church gym, while also declaring it hideous and insisting on ordering full wall floor to ceiling pipe, and draping and ceiling bistro lights. Despite wanting this, she was unwilling to pay for it. I finally stepped back from wedding planning in August because she was too demanding and exhausting. I told her my boyfriend and I would be happy to help her with some of the wedding setup the day prior, so she could order the cheaper pipe and drape package and left her to her own planning devices. I did throw her a bridal shower last weekend with the help of her cousin. Fast forward 8 weeks, she didn't even get her invitations sent out until 3 weeks before the wedding. She had a 250-person guest list, insisting all of them would come, and she decided to not serve actual food. She was only doing cheesecakes and wedding sheet cake. My boyfriend tried to tell her double dessert was not a good idea, but she was adamant. She told us to be at the LDS church at 7 a.m. the day before the wedding. My boyfriend and I were confused why she needed us that early, but figured it would be 4 hours setting up tables and chairs, putting her linens on, putting down centerpieces, and then assembling the pipe and drape. She gave me a list of 8 people who were all supposed to be there to set up, but no one except us and her fiancé showed up. My boyfriend very quickly and efficiently got all the tables shoved into orientation. I got chairs out. Sarah bounced around the room in a panic, unable to decide on the table arrangement. Her fiancé stood there and watched. Finally, after half an hour of Sarah changing her mind on table placement, my boyfriend said, "Nope, we aren't changing it. This orientation is beautiful and you will love it." She was even panicking that the 6-foot-long gifts table wouldn't be large enough to hold all her gifts. My boyfriend had to leave the room to not laugh. I assured her it'd be fine. I thought we were close to being done, but how wrong I was. This woman apparently didn't do anything until that day. She purchased a bunch of cheap dollar store crap, put it all in a giant tote and left it. She ordered linens from Shine and just put them as it is in her box. She didn't open them, check them, iron them, nothing. At 8:30, she opens this box and proceeds to tell us she needs all the leaves cut off the garland because she wants them loose on the tables. She wanted pumpkins glued to her centerpieces, tea lights needed to be opened, batteries installed. She needed 27 tablecloths and table runners ironed, napkins ironed. Oh, and she needed to figure out her bouquet. I about died when I saw the sheer lack of prep she had done. My boyfriend was fuming. Sarah was at that point completely incapable of even figuring out where to start. She needed someone to go to Costco to buy 9 cheesecakes, go to the bakery 45 minutes away, and pick up the wedding cake and the sheet cake. She needed someone to purchase wedding flowers and assemble them into a wedding bouquet. She wanted me to go to a florist and call her on Zoom to show her the flowers while she sat at the venue waiting for the pipe and drape delivery. My boyfriend said straight up no. He told her we would go to Costco and we would buy all white flowers and her cheesecakes. She claims she will repay us. She begged us to call on Zoom to show her flowers, and he said we are doing all white. Text us the flowers you hate so we can avoid them. We gotta move fast. She tried to ask if we could go to several different ones to find irises, and he very kindly told her no. If she wanted irises, she should have ordered flowers. She gets what Costco has, but don't worry. It's going to be beautiful and you will love it. We then ran the errands. Costco cheesecakes, sauces, flowers, ribbon, floral pins. Her job was to go home and get her iron and board. She said she was going to throw some of the tablecloths in her dryer with a wet towel to try to steam the wrinkles. Perfect. We came back at 10:30 a.m. She hadn't left. I don't even know what she was doing. My boyfriend and I then spent 2 hours building her a beautiful wedding bouquet. We found a pre-made bouquet that had some nice rust flowers and took a risk and bought it along with white roses. We had enough left over for bridesmaid bouquets too. Trust me when I say, this bouquet he made was gorgeous. I would not have been able to pull it off as well as he did. He then pre-cut her cheesecakes. We assembled the pipe and drape while she just freaked out around us. Her mom and sister showed up, and I asked them to go to her house and put the linens in the dryer and return with her iron. So they went to do that, but then had to drive 45 minutes away to pick up her wedding cake and sheet cake. I told them to do that, but please stop and get the iron. They didn't. She didn't provide any food for us at all, so we left to eat lunch, returned at 1 p.m. to learn that she actually didn't own an iron. They had the wedding cake and a 96-person sheet cake. The wedding cake barely fit in the fridge alongside the cheesecakes. The sheet cake was way too big. We had to just leave it on the counter and hope the buttercream held up overnight. We still had rehearsal dinner to get ready for paid for by fiancé's family. We finally just had to leave, and I said I would come back to the church after the dinner and help her iron. Dinner took entirely too long. I sent my boyfriend home because I could tell he was exhausted, and he really doesn't even know her. Then she hit me with this bombshell. She wasn't going to the church to help us iron. She was moving out of her parents' house into her fiancé's apartment that night. Her sister and I tried to tell her that she didn't need to do that. Just go on the honeymoon and move the rest of the stuff when she came home. It was her parents' house. Her stuff was fine, but she was adamant she had to get all her stuff into his apartment that night. I finally left the dinner to go to the church and start ironing, and I called my mom and griped about it for 30 minutes. So then my mom drove over to help me. The rest of the night was me, my mum, Sarah's disabled sister and her 80-year-old mother ironing linens with my iron, my mom's iron, and a cheap steamer we bought at Walmart. She left me with a written list of instructions for how to set up each table to her exact specifications. She left all of the bridesmaids' dresses, her petticoat, and her wedding dress hanging in the church for me to steam, and then told us to bring them to her mom's house. I didn't even leave until 1 a.m. I was fumed that she didn't even get her stupid dress professionally steamed. And after all of that, this chick forgot her bouquet in the church fridge, after I explicitly told her to bring it home with her. I didn't even think about it until 5 a.m., and I broke down crying because I knew she was going to call and ask me to drive up to get her bouquet for her, and I didn't even know when I would have time for that. She called me the next morning asking me to drive 45 minutes to unlock the church for her to get her bouquet. Keep in mind, I was not invited to the wedding because it was at the LD's temple, and I am a heathen. Then told me she needed me and my boyfriend to get to the reception church 2 hours early, finish setup, get all the lighting figured out, then manage her food table during the reception, cutting and plating cheesecake and sheet cake, applying caramel or fruit drizzle, bringing it to the tables and keeping water refreshed. She wanted me to do it because her family would obviously want to mingle with guests. She didn't plan anything for water dispensers. She didn't have a cake tray to even put her turquoise wedding cake on. So I brought my servingware from my house, our cake tray, glass water dispensers and pitchers. My mum was so pissed on my behalf she unRSVP'd herself to the wedding. But then she also loaned me her glass-weighted dispensers too. Sarah also needed us to buy ice for the dispensers. Buy and slice lemons. I just stopped caring at that point. She did not get lemon water at her reception. The reception was basically me and my boyfriend and 2 of our children acting as unpaid cater waiters. She was 1 hour late to her reception because she didn't plan time for photos outside the temple and forgot to leave the guest book with me. So I spent an hour trying to entertain angry guests explaining where the guest book and the bride was. No one wanted to eat cheesecake until she arrived. Her dopey fiancé left their rings at his house, and he arrived 30 minutes after her because he had to drive to get them. At one point, cheesecakes were running low, and someone walked up to me and said, "Sarah noticed the cheesecake table needs to be refreshed." Thanks. She then had photos going on outside the reception. 4 pages of shots she wanted. The photographer did them backwards, and instead of starting big and dwindling down, she started small and went big. So everyone was outside standing around for an hour, while the other guests sat inside alone and confused. I was outside for the bridesmaid photo while my boyfriend managed the food. She then came back and cut the cake and changed to leave. She asked me to box up any remaining cheesecakes and wrap and box her wedding cake and all of the leftover sheet cake which her mother paid for, and bring it out for her to take home. No surprise, people didn't want double dessert. Of 9 cheesecakes, we had 4 untouched ones left over the entire wedding cake, minus 1 slice, and almost the entire sheet cake, basically 90 of 96 slices. Yes, this woman was fully planning on taking home all 4 leftover cheesecakes, that we bought an entire 96-person sheet cake, and her wedding cake, somehow fit them in her tiny fridge, and hoped they would be okay when she got back from her trip in a week. She was not going to share any of this leftover food with her bridal party or family, all of whom single-handedly built her reception from the ground up and paid for the cakes. My boyfriend was shocked. He was actually cursing in the church. He was so mad at her entitlement. He said F no. He took her wedding cake and put it back in its box for her. He didn't wrap it in plastic or anything. He took 2 cheesecakes and put them straight into the trunk of our car for us to bring with us to a family dinner tonight. Then he boxed up half of the remaining sheet cake in an extra cake box for me to bring to work this morning to share with people. The remaining sheet cake he boxed up for anyone willing to stay after to take down the wedding. Sarah was fully out the door on her way to the anniversary inn to lose her V-card and left me, my boyfriend, her family, and several kind ward members to clean up, take down all the pipe and draping, box up her centerpieces, linens, and then clean the church. We got home around 6 p.m., physically in pain and angry, and gave all of our kids full stars for their chore charts. They get a prize at 10 stars, so they each got a full 10 stars. I don't even feel like I attended the wedding. I feel like I catered her wedding against my will. My boyfriend did a bulk majority of the work, assembling the backdrops, tables, breaking it all down, all heavy lifting, making 5 bouquets, which I learned he is excellent at, running the entire catering operation, cleaning the kitchen. I steamed 5 bridesmaid dresses and the wedding dress and ironed 27 tablecloths. Many family members thanked us personally for the work we put in. Sarah's mom cried and thanked us for saving the wedding and said she prays for our family and for our health and happiness every morning. The fiancé's family thanked us and said we did well, and even offered to pay us money, which honestly felt so weird because they 100% should have thrown money at hiring actual reception staff, or better yet, an actual reception venue. Sarah gave us a quick thanks and bounced off. I don't expect to hear from her for months. Everything about her wedding felt so cheap and tacky. Dollar Tree decorations, plastic lanterns with plastic pumpkins glued on the day before, wrinkly teal shine tablecloths and runners, hosted in the free church gym, complete with basketball hoop. Her wedding cake was teal with orange pumpkins piped on the top. Of her 250-person guest list, about 100 came. There were maybe 7 gifts total on the 2 small table and 4 cards. Assume most people used Amazon's option to ship to the couple's address. My boyfriend said, "It's giving Mormon pregnancy wedding," which we thought was hilarious because we are all 36 and definitely too old for this mid-2000s. Cheap dollar general Pinterest board wedding vibe nonsense. Op replied to a comment and I think is relevant and explains a lot. I'll be totally honest, I didn't realize I was her best friend until last week at the bridal shower. We are 36. We haven't hung out in years, but I do genuinely want the best for her. Part of what happened early on was I felt like she asked me to be Mo, because she was trying to capitalize on my organization. And I told her exactly that. She admitted that everyone else turned her down. I wasn't even her first choice, but I was depressed at the time and was trying to reconnect with friendships, so I said yes. My grandfather died in September, and she was texting me during his funeral, asking me when I was free to go to Dollar Tree with her. I explained my grandfather died and I was at a funeral, and she said, "Even still, I need your input right now and would really appreciate any time you have today to come." I told her I was unavailable and that I felt like I was being used as a wedding coordinator and I did not have the bandwidth for that. But I said, "Boyfriend and I are happy to help you set up the pipe and drape the night before. I just am unable to help you with intense planning at this time." She didn't respond and didn't speak to me for 4 weeks, and I honestly believed I was demoted and uninvited until one day she texted me a link to the bridesmaid dresses of the guest list of 30 invitees for the bridal shower. 7 came, and her family kept talking about how they were so glad she and her best friend, me, had made up and that I was doing this all for her. We were genuinely best friends in high school, and my partner and I both were genuinely happy to set up the drapery for her. We even would have been happy to do all of those other tasks had she asked ahead of time. Our friendship is over now. I will have a conversation when she's back from her honeymoon. You say you feel so sad for her that she thought I was her best friend. And I posted this, but she very obviously didn't think I was her best friend. Or she doesn't understand friendships. Or she wouldn't have treated me like unpaid labor by dropping the entire wedding on me the night before. I don't believe I was truly intended to be a guest at her wedding. I technically never received an invitation, and she straight up told me she needed me to run the food so that her other family could enjoy the wedding. I was always supposed to be the organized help who saved the day, and that is apparent in her total lack of planning prior to Friday morning. I might be super angry, but I'm not a sadist. I would never have lived with myself had I bailed on her one day before the wedding, because I know that no one else would have stepped up. Just because I know a friendship is ending doesn't mean I want to end it by letting her entire wedding reception crumble.